Today we are meeting confirmation work session. Today is 10/31/24. Happy Halloween. Here to discuss AM 859-2024 executive appointment confirmation hearing. Philippe Brice for Chief Fiscal Officer. So we'll start with introductions, starting with Mr. Perez-Revilla.
Cameron Perez-Revilla.
Mark Littlefield.
Karen Bronga.
Scott Myers.
Anna Brawley.
Daniel Boland.
Christopher Constant. On the phone, we have Mr. Salt.
Here.
Thank you. Mr. Rivera.
President.
All right. And with the administration, we have Mr. Falsey to lead us off. Thank you.
Bill Falsey, Chief Administrative Officer. And if we're ready to begin, Mr. Chair, members of the Assembly, today it is my great pleasure to reintroduce you to Philippe Brice, who many of you have known as the longtime acting director of the IT department, and to reintroduce him to you today as the mayor's appointee for Chief Fiscal Officer. You have all now been presented with Mr. Brice's resume, so you may already have come to learn that he has an educational degree in the equivalent of accounting and management from a French institution, that he served as chief financial officer in the private sector for a variety of business for over 20 years, and then he first headed into the municipality of Anchorage as an accountant in the IT department. He very quickly moved up in that world and started leading the SAP project, which is where I crashed into him as municipal manager in 2018. Stepping back, structurally, the role of the chief fiscal officer in the municipality is being returned to the head of the finance department. For many, many years, the CFO didn't individually appear on the org chart in the municipality, but was the head of the finance department and has always overseen, with some perturbations, the core 4 financial divisions: property appraisal, treasury, public finance, and the controllers division. I think folks on the Assembly know that the controllers division has had some acute challenges in the last few years. And part of the reason I am very happy that Mr. Brice has agreed to step forward as a nominee for CFO is that I think there are real efficiencies and process gains to be had in the controller's office, or the controllers division, with Philippe in the CFO world. And that is informed by my previous experience, which is back in 2018. The acute challenge of the day was related to SAP problems with payroll. And we actually seconded Mr. Brice to be the temporary head of the payroll department. And I had the great pleasure of watching him sort of put brand new processes in place where that really came to a happy conclusion after several fits and starts. And so I think there is a promise here that having our SAP subject matter who knows that there are efficiencies yet to be gained, yet to be unleashed for the controllers division, and a person who has both been well liked and respected by his direct reports and capable of pulling off great process improvements should all spell great advantage for the controllers division and for the CFO column generally. With that, I'm happy to introduce you again to Mr. Philippe Brice.
Fits and starts is quite an understatement. Mr. Brice.
Well, good afternoon. It's a pleasure meeting you. I did prepare a little bit of an introduction about myself. I know I have a French accent, so forgive me if we don't understand what I'm saying, but you can ask me to repeat and I'll do so very happily. So if you allow me, I'd like to read what I prepared for you guys. So as you know, my name is Philippe Brice, and today I am honored to be proposed for the position of Chief Fiscal Officer. I hope to earn your confirmation today, and I am excited about the opportunity to collaborate with each and every one of you and very closely to help, advance the Anchorage financial health. 8 years ago, indeed, I joined the municipality of Anchorage as an accountant to the IT department, focusing especially on our procurement process at the time. In this role, I gained valuable insights into optimizing resource allocation and ensuring fiscal responsibility within our technology investments. From this foundation, I progressed to become the SAP program manager, as Bill was just saying, and where I was able to lead modernization effort to our financial systems. My experience and responsibilities expanded further as I took on the role of the IT deputy director, overseeing a broader range of technology initiatives that align with our municipality's operational goals. And for the last 16 months, I have served as IT director, managing critical projects and strengthening our infrastructures, financial and operational frameworks. Through these roles, I have prioritized efficiency, transparency, and accountability. My work revitalizing the SAP ERP program improved implementation timelines, reduced ongoing operational costs, and streamlined financial process, enhancing coordination across departments. Additionally, as part of my responsibility, like Bill said, I also oversaw central payroll division, integrating payroll functions with our SAP systems. A change that significantly reduced, I can attest to this, payroll corrections, minimized union grievances, and reduced legal risks, which was very much a big challenge at the time. With a foundation in accounting and private sector experience as a chief financial officer, I am well prepared to drive forward our city's fiscal objectives. Today, as I seek confirmation as a chief fiscal officer, I am eager to draw on this experience to foster fiscal responsibility and transparency for Anchorage. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? Ms. Braga?
Thank you. I appreciate the introduction and looking through your resume. It looks really extensive. But a question I had is a constituent asked me about the large deficit while you were IT director. And I don't know exactly what she's talking about. She said something like 27 million. Make sure you ask about that. So I'm just asking you, was there an unexpected deficit while you were IT director?
Well, I can start and Mr. Brice can pick up.
Fits and starts.
Fits and starts.
Go ahead.
If it starts. The IT department has its own fund if you look into the annual consolidated financial report. And I believe what your constituent is raising is that there was an accounting change that BDO recommended to the controller's office in the last go round that recharacterized some of the funds in that some of the activity in that fund as a long-term debt. And that did hit fund balance for the municipality altogether. If we got further into the weeds, my understanding is that when we purchased SAP, there was depreciation that was scheduled to occur over about 10 years. So we're onboarding that full accrual over 10 years, and we're recouping the costs from the departments serviced by SAP over 15 years. And I don't remember exactly how that all came to pass, but it did come home to roost in the 2020 ACFR, where suddenly instead of a short-term debt, I think that got recharacterized as a long-term debt. All of that is to say, it is an accounting thing that the IT department itself didn't have any influence or control over or influence on, in my understanding.
I can concur. This is exactly what happened. Yes.
Thank you very much.
But there was also, I would add, a time when we had $1 billion worth of liabilities that were arguably on the back of the IT department because it was the implementation of SAP and the payroll issues relating to it. Every time there was a payroll error, we owed a sum of money to every employee every single day, and they compounded. And so, but that wasn't of Mr. Brice's creation. He was the one who came in and fixed the problem, and it was Bill who fixed the liability. And so there was a huge hole that was in that whole sphere, but it was part of the nightmare of moving to SAP. I have next Ms. Brawley and then Mr. Littlefield.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Brice, and thank you for being here. I look forward to working with you on as co-chair of the Budget and Finance Committee. I know the CFO always has a presence at those meetings, and that we or that I've worked closely with the person who is currently in that role or prior in that role. So we know some of the big issues that that we're dealing with as a city. A lot of them have to do with having enough resources to pay for things, to maintain, et cetera. And when we've started exploring some of those solutions, and I'll pick on one example, the building safety service area, where we're running basically a debt that we need to that we need to correct that. So I guess I wonder, what other opportunities do you see looking ahead? In addition to stabilizing and being more efficient in our operations, that you would be potentially interested in exploring to start to fix some of those longer term issues.
It's working now. Thank you for the question. I think it is premature for me to offer you any solution at this time. I haven't had a chance to work with the finance department, and I've heard, like everybody else, what I read in the news and the rumors, but I don't pretty much pay attention to those. I'd like to work with the people and understand their challenges and what can be done to support them. So once I do that, give me a few months, and then eventually I'll be able to give you some answers.
Thank you. Yeah, and I appreciate that your part of your role is to be informed and not just to shoot from the hip. So I appreciate that.
All right, Mr. Littlefield.
Thank you. And first and foremost, don't ever apologize for your accent. I find it wonderful.
Yeah.
Looking through your resume, you definitely have the financial background. I just have one quick question, and it reverts back to grants. What can you explain your experience with working with grants and basically implementation and maybe moving them forward?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not going to lie to you. My expertise in grant is not that great. I know the basics, but I think like everything else, it can be learned. And I think I am a pretty fast learner. So eventually I'll get to this point and help you the best I can on this.
Okay, thank you.
Right, next in the queue, Mr. Myers and then Mr. Prisardia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Brice, for being here. A couple questions as well. It's obvious from your resume that you've got quite a bit of experience as a CFO for land developers, restaurants, and assisted living facilities. My question is if you've got experience selling bond debt and or investing in municipal assets for entities like the municipality of Anchorage.
So I am familiar with the process of bonding. Actually, part of my experience was when I was working for the land developer in Florida, and I managed to secure quite a few bonds for a CDD, a community development district. But this is the extent of my knowledge on bonds and not investing of bonds personally. So, but I know about it, yes.
Okay, thank you. Follow-up question is, what in the world would you leave Morocco for to come to a snowy Anchorage? Or Monaco, thank you.
Well, that's a long story, but pretty much I married an American lady, a beautiful person, and this is why I came back and forth between the United States and Europe, Monaco mainly, yes.
He
Thank you.
actually has one other question he didn't ask, and that's, will you be moving the materials being stored at the Eagle River Parks and Rec building? That's the question he really
That was
wanted to
coming
ask.
up. I was going to let another round go.
Okay, thank you. Next in the queue, I have Mr. Prisardia.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. I want to do a lot of questioning I had earlier with another person, and that was really around, going back and looking at our previous administration. I think we went through 4 CFOs during that period of time, and I often get confused about the different financial roles. So forgive me if this is not the right role, but I have very clear memories of revenue projections being far off and being confused by why a professional financial leader would propose something that clearly is not true. Feeling only that it could be motivated by someone higher than that person. And I also experienced budget projections that were not true in order to force an assembly to add funds to just properly fund the city. So what I experienced was thinking that we had financial professionals that were bound by their professional integrity, doing things that I thought were just incredibly wrong. And so I guess my question to you is, moving into this senior role, how do you balance that potential? Not that you're going to have to experience that, But walking into an organization, to a municipality, and having to both be in a world of politics, be in a world of that sort of influence, but also have a level of integrity and to be able to make sure that you're doing the right thing. If you could just maybe speak to that, I don't, in terms of how you in your career or how you as a person manage that, so that we would know that if you were, put in that position to have to make a decision that, or asked to do something that was unethical or illegal or just was wrong, how you would approach that. And thank you.
Well, thank you for your question. When it comes to integrity, this is something that is very personal to me. I have principles and I have a business obligation and moral obligation to do the right thing. You're right, I never dealt with a situation where politics is involved, and I'm kind of new in this game. I've got to be honest with you, but at the same time, I know what my job is about, and my responsibilities in everything that is going to be said or will happen. And I think you will see as time goes on that I'm a very blunt person, and I say what I have to say, and I rely on facts. And I will not be persuaded to do things that are not correct or unethical.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the answer.
So I don't have anyone else in the queue. Others? No. Okay, so it feels like we're done today. This question, I believe, is on the agenda for Wednesday. With that, then we'll stand adjourned until 1:30, I believe. Yep.